that cultural heritage really is the reason why I chose to do the products that we do right now. What we found with a lot of the Indigenous youth is that they're getting like a climate change anxiety, but also older people that are concerned about our earth and what's happening. So we really wanted to give people something tangible that they could hold in their hands and know that they're making a difference in climate change. And we made a difference in people's lives. We made them happy. We gave them something that makes them feel like they're a part of a bigger movement.
The question we are asking today is, how does an Indigenous entrepreneur fuse heritage and a commitment to the environment to redefine beauty standards? Hello, Vanessa. How are you doing?
Good morning, Darine. I'm good. Thank you for having me today. I'm honored to be here.
And I'm going to be very honest and transparent here today. I'm an immigrant woman to Canada. And, as an immigrant to this country, I have learned to appreciate Canada as a land of opportunity, but also how precious this land is, the land of Indigenous people. But I would confess that I feel I know too little about the Indigenous heritage and the history. So let me ask you this first question, Vanessa. Preserving traditions. Can you tell us more about how your family's practice and your heritage shaped the woman you are today?
Absolutely. That is a loaded question right there. I like to tell people that there's actually really two aspects to that. One of the biggest aspects to that is that actually, there's a lot of Indigenous culture that really wasn't passed on from the prior generations. So I often feel like I'm learning my heritage, along with people like yourself, where, the basics are there. We have, the feel of it. I have it in my heart. But when it comes to actual ceremonies or traditions, I'm relearning those as I go as well. That has a lot to do with, some of the things that I talked about in the panel, which were, generational trauma.
Yeah.
There's things that are passed on from generation to generation, Indigenous cultures, and not always. I mean, it's not a everybody's story. And I
Mhm.
always like to reiterate, I know we mentioned this, but this is not, I never look at this as like a victim type situation.
Mhm.
There was generational addiction in my family, and I was in extreme addiction throughout a lot of my adulthood, but I'm going on in January. It'll be going on 9 years that I'm clean and sober, and thank you. you know, and, I do pride myself in that because there's not a lot of people that make it out of that.
True.
And yeah, so I really feel like that is one of my biggest success stories. Is really trying to break that cycle for my children and bring back that traditional thinking and those skills that bring us back to the land and back to nature. And one of our biggest assets, I guess, is that we actually grew up in rural Alberta, really close to the land. So producing food, naturally from gardening and herbs and wild flora that grows in our forests. There's so much food to be produced there, right down to the traditions of hunting. And, so things like ruffed grouse and moose have been, fish, walleye, they've been a huge staple in our diet. So passing that on to my children and having that connection to the earth is a huge it's a huge piece of my heart, and I love to share that with my children. But unfortunately there's a lot of pieces of our culture that were lost, and not necessarily lost forever, not as if they're gone, but we're relearning them. And with the help of my mother, my cookum, so my mother's mother has passed on now, and she, unfortunately, through her pain and trauma, she wasn't really willing or able to pass a lot of that on to us. So
Mm.
yeah. I mean, it's there is definitely some sadness and loss there, but also the strength and an incredible woman that she was. My mother is now got to take that, and now I get to pass that on to my daughter as well. So that when when people talk about strong, resilient Indigenous women, it is absolutely, a statement that means the world to me because Indigenous women are very powerful women for sure.
Oh, they are, and they're carrying on a lot. And how all those aspects of your cultural heritage or the things that you are learning by yourself, right? That maybe you didn't get the chance to inherit it from your family. How does it influence the leader that you are, the entrepreneur, the woman entrepreneur that you are, and more specifically when it comes to that approach to sustainability?
Yeah, I mean that cultural heritage really is the reason why I chose to do the products that we do right now. Mostly our hero products are our shampoo and conditioner bars. So it's a solid form of shampoo that you take into your shower and it looks like kind of like a bar of soap. And then once it's gone, it's gone. So we really are wanting people to, challenge them in the way that they view product packaging. And, along with that, so what we found with a lot of the Indigenous youth is that they're getting like a climate change anxiety. So not only the youth, but also older people that are concerned about our earth and what's happening. So we really wanted to give people something tangible that they could hold in their hands and know that they're making a difference in climate change. And it could be something very small. It feels like it's small, but to date, we have helped eliminate over 700,000 plastic bottles from entering the environment. And that really is part of the, what I really want to accomplish is have that communal type effect on the environment. One of the biggest pieces that we're noticing in, recent trends and the research that's coming out is one of the biggest things that we can do to affect climate change in a positive way is to allow our forests to revitalize themselves and to allow them to just kind of grow and be how they are. So I really believe that we are having a big impact on that. And, lessening what goes into the landfill is always a win-win. So I think just having that, it really empowers me to, you get through those highs and lows and it gives you that will to keep going and knowing that you're making a difference.
Um, was entrepreneurship part of your family? Did you have any role model? How did you go from, going to university, studying chemistry, being getting ready to become a pre-med, to shifting and becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so really, I think my entrepreneurship stemmed out of a huge frustration that I was having. Not only, I often am a voice for Indigenous entrepreneurs, but also women entrepreneurs, and women in the workforce in general. I had been a dental assistant most of my adult life, and I'd been fired from many jobs. If my husband was the breadwinner, and if we had a sick baby for whatever reason, one of us had to stay home. It was always me, and there was never any leeway into there was never any allowance for me to do that. So I had a bit of I really wanted to change the way that businesses were run and the way that women are employed. So that also, along with my father was an entrepreneur, my brother is an entrepreneur, my sister. So the spirit is definitely in our family. And I think I just, what really was the catalyst was those Indigenous values and the will to want to change, make a difference in the environment, and then also add in how I wanted women to be treated differently in business. It really gave me a drive to create a business that was incorporating both of those aspects. And now we have 16 women that we employ, and we get to offer them living wages and flexible work hours, along with we just actually brought in benefits. So yeah, I'm pretty.
Wow, wow. Yeah, you're sharing a lot of wins with us. I love that. Congratulations. You said something interesting. You said I spent most of my adult life as a medical assistant, a dentist assistant, and
Mhm.
it echoes to something that I hear a lot from women from all ages is, oh, it's too late, oh, I should have started earlier. And you are here standing in front of us and telling us how you built such a successful, and we're going to go further details into the success stories of your business, and telling us, hey, this is what I have done on my life. And then I decided that it was time for me to do something different. So did you have any pressure from society, maybe from yourself, any doubts? Tell us a little bit more about your thought process from deciding to leave a career to start a
Mhm.
business, maybe mid-age, and having a successful then company, or believing that you could do it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was, over 40 when I started my business, when I stopped doing my traditional work and entered into the entrepreneur world. And there was not a lot of support. Realistically, even people in my family were afraid as to what was going to happen, how I was going to have an income. And in all honesty, it was an expensive hobby for a few years. I wasn't as serious as I could have been in the beginning, but yeah. So, uh, you know what? Realistically, there's grants, there's funding, there's all kinds of things. There's support groups. So I say absolutely take the risk if you want to do a change in your life, become an entrepreneur. Absolutely, it's worth it. And being a little bit older, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I do feel that women don't really get their voice. They don't really get that until they're a little bit older, and they kind of listen to what other people are saying. And really, I wish I would have gained that a little bit earlier in my life, but that strength and will and determination comes with age, and I think that makes you stronger, and it becomes an easier endeavor the older that you get to do something different.
That's very true, because I don't know where does this idea comes from, where you have to be young in order to start something successful,
Mm,
and if you haven't reached all your goals by the age of 30, basically you are done. This is a pressure that I have myself, so I can completely relate to that aspect, where I even never thought about planning goals beyond my 30, because in my mind, being a young woman, I would have achieved everything by my 30 and would have been successful by the age of 30,
right.
which obviously did not happen. Not the way I had envisioned it, and not the way I had planned it. And I remember having a breakdown because I thought I was too old. I thought it was too late. I thought I had missed something. Like, that was a very difficult transition for me. But then as I entered my 30s, I realized, and I'm still in my mid 30s right now, and I'm realizing how much it feels good to
Yeah.
be in my 30s because of everything that you just shared. And when I talk about this with other women older than me, I keep hearing the same thing. Wait until you reach your 40s, or wait until you reach your 50s, right? So I think as women collectively, we should stop put the pressure on ourselves that there is a timeline, or there is an age limit to what we are supposed to achieve, because as we grow, as we become wiser, I want to say, we learn so much, and we build that voice that we can use for ourselves and for other women as we go
Mhm.
through life, right? Experiences that we don't have when we are in our 20s.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. And you're right. You mean we become stronger individually, but also as a collective we become stronger. And we have the voice. It's in there. We've always had it. It's just
Yeah.
you're now strong enough that you get to hear your voice yourself, and you get to say it and stand up for yourself. And that is amazing. It's such an amazing feeling when you really
Yeah,
realize
yeah.
that you're fighting for what you want and you're going to get it. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
And so you have received several awards. So let me take a look at it. You have received the Indigenous Entrepreneur of the Year and the Indigenous Entrepreneur Award. So how have this acknowledgement, right? It's important also to be acknowledged for the work that we do. How it has impacted your mission and the visibility of Indigenous women-owned business in the beauty industry or in the entrepreneurship landscape in general.
Yeah, I mean, there's an interesting thing that happens actually. Part of the generational trauma that comes along with, in my experience, is always sort of craving a recognition that you're doing something right. And that also comes with, I think, being a woman, where, you don't necessarily feel like you're accomplishing anything unless you're getting recognition for it. And that sort of changed for me, weirdly enough, after I got the awards, because it wasn't so much as a personal achievement as really an achievement for Indigenous women. So, especially in the beauty industry, Jen Harper is a great example of a woman who, you know,
Mhm.
has been breaking barriers and, the glass ceiling and everything,
Yeah.
and she's a huge role model of mine. But I like when she also talks about, it's a collective, and to have that recognition and knowing that Indigenous entrepreneurs are growing at a higher rate than any other Indigenous, or sorry, any other group right now of entrepreneurs in Canada. So
Mm.
Indigenous people are really coming into the business world, and to know that, give people that voice, that we're here, and, we need to have a little bit of extra, um, a little bit of extra opportunity to make those initial jumps to get into the same playing field that other people are in. So yeah, I, I don't know.
No,
It's
but listen, this is very true and this is very interesting. And as you said at the beginning, you are representing the voice of Indigenous women and the voice of women as well, which is very important in my opinion. As a woman entrepreneur, as an Indigenous woman entrepreneur, what are some of the challenges that you faced while launching and more importantly scaling? Because now you have a scaled business, right? Most of women entrepreneur, they don't go to that phase, right? They don't reach the scaling phase in their business. So, what are some of the challenges and the lessons learned that you would like to share with us when it comes to scaling your business as a woman entrepreneur?
Yeah, challenges. I mean, the most obvious, I guess, is financial. I had my business for probably 5 years, and I needed a new vehicle, and I actually went to go, we went to go do the financing, and I couldn't even finance my own vehicle. I had to have a cosigner still. Having credit. Because of my past, I didn't have any assets, and I didn't have a very good credit history. It wasn't that I had a bad one. I just didn't really have a history. So getting into that world and I actually found an Indigenous organization called Pitagosan that actually really helped us, and they put the trust in us that we were going to, be able to repay what we were doing. So yeah, financially, I think there just was no base to it, and still scaling, we're having issues. We have found some actual opportunities, and I'd love to share with any other Indigenous organizations, if I can, the opportunities that I've found. Staffing, resources. I think we have a lot of challenges that are kind of across the board as well. Supply chain issues have been happening.
Yeah.
um, One of the biggest things that I really wanted to do when I very first started was have a whole staff of Indigenous women working for me. And even that, I mean, all those other women are finding the same, or sorry, experiencing the same barriers that I was experiencing. So transportation is an issue. Sometimes it's addiction, and babies to take care of, and there's lots of issues. So we actually have about a 30% Indigenous uh, employee rate. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it is just more personal struggles, mental health, making sure that you're taking care of family issues and stuff. So a lot more, I think, personal challenges compared to maybe other.
Okay.
Yeah,
To
yeah,
external compared to external factor, you believe that based on your own experience, that the personal challenges are the
yeah,
ones that may hinder the progress of women indigenous entrepreneurs compared to external factors, because somehow external factors can be figured out, right? I want to say, even though it's challenging and it can be very hard, it can be figured outable. Do we say this word? But we can figure it out anyway.
yeah.
But yeah, like dealing and overcoming personal challenges, especially given the history. of the challenges, personal challenges that the Indigenous community, it's well known across Canada, has been facing. Indeed, this is something that we need to take into consideration and working on ourselves even before thinking of building and growing something else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that fully. Even trust. I mean, building, to learn to how to trust people was a huge
Yeah.
issue that I had, you know?
Really?
So yeah, getting counseling and having a mentor, somebody that you can always talk to, I really recommend that.
And where do you think this lack of trust was coming from?
Everything, even from, having an alcoholic mother for most of my childhood. You never really know, nothing was stable. There was no stability in any of the choices, uh, moving around, and sometimes there wouldn't even be food to eat. And so when the people that are the closest to you are hard to trust, being able to trust somebody who isn't close to you is even harder. So, but I've learned
Yeah.
to, I've learned that those were, you know, isolated incidences, and I definitely have overcome a lot of that. But yeah, I mean, it's a reality. That was a reality in my life for sure.
And thank you for sharing all of that with us. Um, for the young entrepreneurs listening to us, uh, what ad- what advice would you give them? On the way they can align entrepreneurship, scaling a business, and sustainability. I know you discussed about it during the panel, when you were sitting on the panel, and I would love you to share it with us because sustainability is at the heart of the youngest generation. Even for us, I'm a millennial, and sustainability is very important in everything that I do. And when I want to buy from a company, also, I'm looking into the sustainability practice of those companies. But as a young entrepreneur, and when you don't have like that flow of money, it is still a challenge, to be able to build something that is aligned with what you want to achieve and the impact that you want to make. So what would be your advice to young entrepreneurs or even existing entrepreneurs who want to put sustainabilities at the heart of their business?
Mhm. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is really education. So learning what sustainability is, we all have our general kind of, it's like, oh, I'm going to put this into the recycling bin. But often you can get something what's called wish cycling, where people are throwing things into the recycling bin and it actually all gets thrown out because some of the items don't belong there. So really learning what sustainability, and that's free. So you don't have to pay for education. You can get that on the internet. There's look at the in Edmonton we have like waste Edmonton something, and you can always Google it and figure out what is acceptable in your area, and that's all 100% free. So you're everything from cardboard to glass, plastic, all of that stuff. So you can look at it kind of in two senses: what's going out of your business is what's coming into your business. So what's going out is a little bit easier and a little bit less costly. So then, yeah, once you kind of research and learn, then you can create some strategies and some goals. Having some goals to work towards is my biggest tip, for entrepreneurs wanting to put more sustainability into their business. Because if you don't have something to work towards, you sort of always just, it can really easily fall to the wayside when you're making other decisions. And it can get a little bit expensive if you're not doing it properly. So having the right ways to go about it, will really make a difference for your cost. Something as simple as packaging. Do a little bit of
Mm.
research. Often we've found more sustainable packaging actually to be less costly than a big, flamboyant, colorful plastic type packaging. So, and also reach out to people, like myself, other sustainable companies. They would be more than happy. We're actually also, I mentioned a B Corp. So B Corp
Yeah.
is yeah, it's a conglomerate of businesses that legally we're legally obligated to put people and the environment ahead of every decision that we make. So that organization is an amazing organization to reach out to. They have loads of information on things that you can do, and yeah, I think that's the easiest way to do it is the goals for sure.
Yeah, educate yourself. Use Google. Google is free. YouTube is free. Educate yourself. And once you feel like you have acquire enough knowledge, then set up goals, right? Very important. And reach out to people, look at
Mhm.
entrepreneurs who are doing it, and ask for advice. It can be as simple as that, right? And it can have a great impact in your initiative. Talking about impact, Vanessa, what would you like to be remembered for?
Oh, I love that question so much. Really, I think the biggest thing that I want to be remembered for is being an amazing parent. That's something that, I struggled with. My children are 18 years apart, so my son lived through my hardest addiction years, and I think that's the thing that I carry the most is knowing that I didn't break that cycle when he was younger, and that really affected him. So personally, I think that that's my biggest want. Professionally, really that we made a difference. We made a difference in people's lives. We made them happy. We gave them something that makes them feel like they're a part of a bigger movement. First of all, I mean, giving people fabulous hair
Of course.
the biggest thing, but really that we made a difference on the environment, and that we made a difference in all the women that I employ, absolutely 100% that I made a difference in their lives, and also just our customer base and anybody that supports us and gets to follow us and come along for the journey.
Love it. How do you see the landscape changing for Indigenous women entrepreneurs in the future?
I think there's a lot more awareness that Indigenous entrepreneurs are incredible women, especially, of course. I mean, not that they're all, of course, they all are, but I was a huge advocate for women. Um, yeah, I mean, it's it's changing. People are aware that we're here. We're breaking onto the scene. There are more grants and money coming available, and I think the trust level is there. I there is a stigma around Indigenous people, that there is a lot of alcoholism, and I feel like there is a trust level that needs to be created between Indigenous people and the rest of, the people in Canada, and, witnessing that we're breaking through that, and it's a small piece of the culture, absolutely. I mean, no, sorry, not that that's the culture, but it's just a small piece. It has really nothing to do with the Indigenous culture whatsoever, just as a side
Mhm.
effect. So yeah, good things are coming. There's a lots of incredible women that are coming out that I'm very aware of, and yeah, we're going to see some really amazing artists coming out as well.
Ooh, yes, because the art is part of the indigenous culture, right? And so I find it beautiful to see the many different ways that art can be expressed, the dance, the painting, the music, and how it can also be transformed into a business, right? Through the work that you do at Jack 51 59, sorry, Jack 59, it is still a form of art, right? Because you are creating something ultimately to give people amazing hair, yes, but to create you create something that creates emotions. You see what I mean? And this is
Mhm.
a form of art, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you say that because I feel like it's very artistic what we do. But and then also we also get to incorporate actual Indigenous artists. So we have
Oh.
a line called Dreams that is our children's line. It's Orange for Every Child Matters, and the full proceeds of that line are donated back to Indigenous organizations. And the artwork on that packaging is done by an artist named Tristan Jenny, who is located here in Edmonton. I believe her Instagram is at Tristan Jenny Art, and she actually also did my tattoo, which is like absolutely amazing. So she incorporated pieces of the artwork into the packaging, and it's really that really makes it even more dear to me to know that it's a piece of me as well. But yeah, I'm absolutely honored to have her artwork on our packaging.
Vanessa, what can we wish you for the future?
um, that feels like I appreciate the thought, and I always feel I still that's one of the things that I think I really need to work on is, you know, I I always focus on wishing things for other people. So, health and well-being and growth in what we're trying to do.
Vanessa, thank you so much for your time and for being so generous with us, for sharing your story. You take care, you stay safe.
Thank you so much, my dear.
Bye.